Okay. Hey, I just want to say I hope everybody's doing good and staying safe. Obviously, we're in some unprecedented times, and it's been very unique, to say the least, on us and our football program, but more importantly, throughout the country. So just hope everybody's doing staying safe. We are constantly monitoring our players and checking on our players to make sure they're good. So first and foremost, it's about their health and well-being, and all of you and everybody out there just trying to stay safe. So we're trying to do our part and do whatever we can. As far as the football program, just prior to spring break, things were changing by the hour. Things were changing daily and by the hour, and we had many different discussions about what to try to do and to plan to do with our players prior to them leaving for spring break. But we had a pretty good indication by the time that Thursday afternoon rolled around and Friday that our players would not be reporting back, and that it would be very difficult for me as the head coach responsible for so many people coming back from spring break to all get together in one room. I mean, when we put all of our whole team and our whole staff in there, there's upwards of 120, 130, 140 people, depending on who's all in that meeting. And that's an awful lot of people to put together. So I did not feel comfortable about that. Again, just thinking back to prior to spring break. So we kind of anticipated that there would be some form of a break. We tried to prepare for that as best we could. Obviously, things have changed quite a bit since then. Right now, it's about us checking on our players and checking on their families to make sure that they are safe and that doing the things necessary to stay safe. That's definitely number one priority for us is player safety and all their families. The next thing would be academics, making sure they come back and taking care of their business and doing what they're supposed to do with their online courses. We have virtual tutor sessions that are set up through our people that handle academics, and they've done a fantastic job in that area. Really greatly appreciate them and our support staff and what they're doing to help our players through this difficult time. Our university has been fantastic with Dr. Capilouto and Mitch Barnhart, and making sure we give them the tools necessary to be successful, whether that's sending them an iPad or a computer or things of that nature. And even Christian's here with me today, even Christian sending them some form of a what's it called, Christian, a box or whatever that they could get their online. And I didn't even know they had things like that, but we, kids that didn't have the ability to get online in their homes, we sent them some tools to help them do that. So academically, it's super important for us to stay on top of it. We had the best fall we've had in a long time around here, and really pushed, because during the fall we have a tendency to dip. These players are so busy, but we had a really strong fall. But we did have some players that needed to have a strong spring, and they were off to a really good start. And so it's really important for us to continue with that and give them the tutors and give them the tools necessary to help them be successful. We've been very good the past couple years in the spring semester of really working hard and staying on top of it academically. So that's very important for us right now. The next thing that we have to pay close attention to is strength training. And as you know, we constantly pride ourselves and talk a great deal about development. We are a developmental program. We want to recruit at a super high level, but developing our players is really number one, outside of academically, and developing them off the field. When it comes to the physical part of the game, the strength and conditioning piece is very big to us, and we take great pride in that. You've heard me talk about it many, many times, that our strength and conditioning staff do such a good job. And I feel like that's where we make our gains. That's where we've gained on people, is outworking them and developing our strength and our conditioning and becoming a big, strong, physical football team. So that's imperative that we continue that while we're not around these players right now. You've also heard me constantly talk about developing our players in leadership and being a player-led team. Well, this will be a great test for us because our players are on their own. Much like back in the old days when I played, it was kind of on you to do the development through the summer. As you know, things have changed, and we constantly train our players, so they really don't have to think about much, and they really don't need much motivation because our strength and conditioning team takes great care of that. You walk in that weight room, and they have an attitude about them and a presence about them that kind of is very contagious. And so when our players walk in, they've been trained the right way. So right now, it's an opportunity for our players to show that the discipline that they have to work extremely hard on their own. It's also really important for our strength and conditioning team, and I met with them at my house on Monday, and we are very active in putting things together to help show them. Players learn a different way. They don't always necessarily, if you script something out on a piece of paper and send it to them, I'm not sure that's most beneficial for them. So we are doing things to demonstrate, into video, and to send it to them, to stay on top of that with the development piece. So it gets down to the discipline of our players, it gets down to the motivation of our players, and it also gets down to the organization of us to provide them with as much as we can to help them through this difficult time and to continue to build their bodies and build their minds and develop in all areas of their life. So that's extremely important to us. The last piece would be setting up the NCAA's, I think, set to clear it today. We've worked on it already and had some academic meetings and touch base with our players through Zoom. So we'll continue to communicate much like we're doing right now. We'll continue to do this and work with our players and be prepared to have meetings online. This is our first week back. So this is the first week we've gone through this. So I know there's many questions, and I could open it up here in a minute, but 2 weeks ago we were on spring break. This is the first full week we've gone through with this. So this week was much about getting our players settled. They had to come back, move out of the dorms, many of them, get them to a safe environment, get them situated, get them online, get them access to their online classes, get organized with all that. Now we got to continue to work and go back and continue to develop our bodies, and we'll go from there. How long this will take, your guess is as good as mine. I'm just trying to do my part. There's so many extremely intelligent people working on this, worldwide, that we'll sit here and do our part as best we can. In our community and in our school, again, it's really comfortable for me to continue to lean on the leadership of Dr. Capilouto, Mitch Barnhart, and all the people here making smart and wise decisions. Our governor continuing to do great things and make great decisions for everybody in our community. So we're just trying to do our part, do the best we can, and continue to push this program from all different parts of the country. To be honest with you, our players are all over the place. So we're trying to do the best we can and give them as many tools as we can to be successful and to be organized and to be on top of it, because we have no idea how long this is going to last. But one thing's for sure is we have no interest in going backwards. We want to continue to push this program, and hopefully all the things we've been working on for many years will come to the forefront here during this time of crisis. I'll stop at that point. That's a lot more long-winded than I normally am with you guys. So at this point, you guys can fire away and ask questions.
Okay, we've made it for John Hale. Ask a question. John, go ahead, please.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for doing this.
Yep.
First off, have any of your players tested positive, or any family members direct kind of health issues they're dealing with at this point?
No, not that I'm aware of right now, unless things have changed in the last 24 hours. Touch base with Gabe, our trainer, just about every day. Checked in with him yesterday, and everything was clear. We had one scare. We had one player that was sick and did have the flu, and he did do the things necessary to be quarantined and quarantine himself. And our trainers and our people did a fantastic job of isolating him and then also supporting him with some food and things of that nature and medicine to help him until the results came back. But they fortunately they came back negative. He had the flu, but he did not have the COVID-19.
Okay, next question from Nick Roush.
Mark, there's a lot of I know you don't. We're all dealing with uncertainty right now, but there's a lot of folks in the business, including your buddy Kirk Herbstreit, who are worried that football might not happen this fall. Are you concerned about that at all?
I am, but as you know, I also try to stay in my lane as best possible. We're going to continue to work and to prepare to play that opening game. That's where my mindset is. To say that it hasn't crossed my mind or I don't think about it, that's a lie. I mean, you do, but you have to block it out and continue to push and work and do the best you can to be prepared. So that's what I'm worried about, is getting the team ready. I did touch base with Kirk yesterday on the phone and talk just about, really quite honestly, personal things, checking on his families, checking on ours, and just talking. But no, I have no control over that, as you know. This is much bigger than the University of Kentucky. So we will do the things necessary and do what we're told. But as of right now, we're preparing to play.
All right, next question is from Derek Terry.
Mark, for those guys who are spending the spring rehabbing and things like that, what's the process for those guys right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. They are able to have the ability to get some one-on-one training sessions to get the rehab. So they are rehabbing. They're in constant communication with our trainers and doing the things necessary to continue with their rehab. Also, I failed to mention, I've talked about the 4 or 5 steps that we're talking about right now. Obviously, recruiting never stops, whether we're in the office, away from the office, or wherever. I mean, we're doing the best we can there as well. That would be another major point for us, is to continue to build these relationships as best we can. It's obviously changed. It's changed for us, but it's changed for everybody. Because this is a time when we've had many, many players come on campus, both for official visits, unofficial visits, spend time watching us in spring practice and really getting to know us and building that relationship. So that's affecting us, but it's also affecting everybody. So we're doing the best we can to Skype and to talk to players and communicate with families as best we can as well.
Okay, next question is from Larry Vaught.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. I was just wanting to ask you about recruiting, and you went into it a little bit there. But how important is it, like, if you're able to get some commitments and all at this time of year, just to kind of keep some momentum going? Is that even more important, you think, now?
I think it is important. As I talk about the things and the steps in our program, as we talk, you hear me talk all the time, as we recruit and then we intentionally develop them once they get here. But as we get better and continue to build our program, a key piece there, Larry, to think about is, as we get better and we continue to build our program, and we've had a good run, it's a good start, and we want to continue to build this program, but we want to make sure we're selecting the right players as well. We feel very good about where we're at. Even a year ago, we started maybe a touch slow. You start thinking you need to push the button or whatever. By the end of it, by the time, December was rolling around last year, November, December, I was having a really hard time not taking guys' commitment, let's put it that way. So we can be more selective. The better we're getting, the better job our coaches do at recruiting and building off the positive things that have happened in our program. We want to make sure we're selecting the right players. I think that's where you got to be careful because we want to make sure we know exactly what we're getting and we're making sure that it's a great fit for us here at the University of Kentucky with these players. We are different. We do things different. Everybody does. So we want to make sure, we're selective in finding the right players that we feel could come in and be committed to the things that are important to us. And so it's, again, unprecedented times. It's very unique and very different. So that's a tricky question, what you just answered. And I'm not just skirting around it, but yes, it's important to get the guys we know what we're getting and we're comfortable with them. And we've had that recently with a commitment, but that was somebody and some folks that we're very, very comfortable with because we've spent a lot of time with already. Some other players maybe that want to commit, we still need to make sure we're doing enough research on that. And that's where it's going to be tricky here with this class.
Okay, our next question is from Josh Moore.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for doing this.
Yep, thank you.
They, a lot of talk about financials and stuff, how this whole thing will impact NCAA at large schools. There been any talk in the department about coaches giving up salary? I know you've had a lot of coaches get raises lately and deservedly, but has that been in the air at all? And what are your thoughts on just maybe giving back in some way?
Yeah, it hasn't been talked about out loud, but it certainly has crossed my mind. And I think that's a great question and a great point. Yes, absolutely. I'm prepared to give back. Chantel and I, have been active in this community for a long time, and it's really important for us to give back right now. But it's also important to give back to the university if need be. And so we haven't talked about that. I think, it's probably too early, for our administration to fully comprehend what's going to happen the rest of this year and what's going to happen. Well, they probably have a good idea what's going to happen the rest of this year. But moving forward, nobody really knows. But I think that's a great question, a great point. Yes, I would be open to that personally, of giving back and helping this university and making sure, we have the ability to put the resources into our players, which is most important to me, is continuing to develop our players in all areas of their life. That does take a strong financial commitment, and it takes great support from our university that they've given us. And we constantly want to do those things to help develop these players and to develop this program. It's important. What we do on the field is important to Kentucky, to this state. We want to represent this state the right way. We want to continue to push this program in a positive direction. And we all should look at ways to do the best we can to help in that commitment and to help, again, push this program and develop this program and have it something, the product that we put on the field that we're all extremely proud of.
Okay, next question is Michael Bennett. Michael, you can go ahead.
Hey, Coach, good to see you, even though it's through my computer.
Yes, sir.
With the anticipation of the upcoming season and the success that we had and the way the season finished this past season and the winning streaks that you're now going through, if practice is delayed this summer and you're not able to practice on time, could that delay the season?
I have no idea. I think all of you know my answer to that. It's above my pay grade. That's way out of my hand. Marcus Stoops does not make those decisions. But I try, again, to do the very best I can in my lane to affect others and help others as best I can. but I'm going to do my part, and that's going to be extremely committed to our players. As you know, with me, I think y'all can see many times when I'm not communicating with y'all that much, and we're not having regularly scheduled media conferences. I'm buried in my own world doing the things necessary. I have a big operation that I'm in charge of. There's a lot of moving pieces in a football department, and there's a lot of people that you affect directly. And I take that very serious. There's people that need to support their families that have jobs and their safety right now. So a lot of times, in our world, it's easy to be selfish because you need to be in some ways to continue to develop your programs, but you better step back right now and you better think about all the people that you're responsible for. And there's quite a few in our football building. The amount of people that this directly affects is a lot. And, I need to concentrate on that. And then I need to concentrate on this community and help this community as best I can, just to help and be a small piece of the help. But it can be overwhelming. And so I really try to focus on the so many people that I am responsible for and make good decisions for them. Because there's a lot of things you want to do because you want to continue to stay motivated and push the program and develop the program. But their safety right now and their family's safety is extremely important. I mean, Christian's sitting with me right now and, how old's your baby now?
2.
Yeah. Well, got a beautiful baby 2 years old at home right now. And you got to think about those things, and so, we can't be selfish at this time. We got to do the things that are responsible, to do things that are right, to do the things that our leaders are telling us to do, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, David Hale will have our next question. David, go ahead.
Hey, Mark, appreciate you doing this. I know obviously the future is utterly unpredictable at this point, but I'm just curious from your experience, where do you see potential ripple effects of not having that sort of hands-on, face-to-face time over the spring? Where can that potentially show up the most in your team, assuming you actually have a season that is otherwise relatively normal?
I think the discipline of doing what you're supposed to do when nobody's watching. We have great structure in our program. We have to. And so, to me, it falls back on the training that we've given these players. And so they have to be extremely disciplined and motivated right now to do the things that are necessary of them. And that is to take care of their health, take care of their academics, and to do as much strength training as they possibly can and be creative and find ways. And our strength and conditioning team is doing their part. But our players have to be disciplined and motivated to do the things necessary. I talk constantly also in our program to our kids about accountability and dependability. Well, if they're accountable to the things they have to do right now and they're dependable to do what they're supposed to do, then things will fall into place. I think that the teams across the country, the players across the country that are doing those things, that are being accountable, being dependable, and working extremely hard and staying motivated, when they come back, then they will be the teams that will be successful. I think that's a big piece of it, and that's something that I'm in constant communication with our staff about, being in touch with our players and just constantly following up with them to make sure they're doing the things necessary. And again, that's staying safe, doing their part about social distancing, doing their part about staying quarantined, but also getting online, taking care of their academics, meeting their tutor sessions that are online and that are virtual right now, and then staying motivated with their strength and conditioning as best we can. And our team will be creative and doing things that they can do at home. I believe we're working hard to get some restrictions lifted where we could send them some things home. that they can get some bands and things of that nature where they could do some resistance training and do the best we can to help them stay in shape. That's how we've made gains here is by, outworking people and doing the things necessary in the off season, staying hungry every day. And I think that's an important piece right now for our program.
Okay, John Clay's our next question. John, go ahead, please.
Thanks again, Mark, for doing this. You mentioned about contacting the players with Zoom or Skype or whatever. What are you allowed to do as far as that goes, and what's possible with that? Can you hold like position meetings with players, like a virtual classroom or anything like that?
We're expecting to get that cleared today, John. Today, I would imagine there's something that's going to come down the pipe. This is our first week, as I mentioned, because 2 weeks ago was our spring break, and we wouldn't have done anything on that. But this week, is the first week going through that. Actually, prior to knowing, what we were allowed to do, we were already working on that. We were already communicating with our players on Zoom. But it is, a process getting acclimated to that. We hadn't done too much, but we had done some. And then I hear from our compliance office. I hope I'm not incriminating myself here right now. But then our compliance office was letting me know that the NCAA is talking about it and going to put something out there where we could communicate with them or have team meetings, position meetings with these guys a couple hours a day. We're waiting on that decision at any moment. Meanwhile, we can communicate with them that way and talk to them about academics and talk to them about motivating them to stay safe, but to also take care of their academics and to also make sure they're getting some form of a workout every day.
Okay. Our next question is from Tristan Farris. Tristan, go ahead, please.
You and your family are doing well and safe during this time. My question is, I know you didn't have a lot of practice time with the team, but prior to the spring practice being canceled, which players most exceeded you and your staff's expectation?
Yeah, that's a difficult question for me to answer, to single out any individual player. I think it was obvious, as I mentioned to you all after one of the practices, that I was proud of the work that they did in the winter. I noticed our players once again making gains in the strength and conditioning area. That's something that we want to continue to be big and strong and physical. That was evident in the practices. I think there's no doubt about it that the continuity and the strength, with our offensive line is there. Again, I think it's very evident that we have a deep backfield with some talented players. I was very impressed with the receivers continuing to make some jumps in the push. Josh Ali, Cleavon Thomas, were a couple guys that stood out to me. Alan Daly has an opportunity. Defensively, as you know, we have quite a few players that come back with a lot of experience. So I was pleased with that group just overall, for the start. But it was just a start. We have a long way to go. I do have a lot of confidence in this team. I feel like it's, a really, really good group. They have a lot of experience. We have some really good continuity. And we feel like we have some impact guys coming in, with Terry not being able to go through spring. Bo Allen and Joey Gatewood stood out, as for guys that you look for the future. You look for some guys that were really impressive to me in the first 5 practices. So that was good to see. As you know, that was important for us. We needed to hit on some guys and feel really good about them. That's just a few.
Okay, Aaron Gershon with the next question. Aaron?
Mark, I hope you and your family are doing well through all this.
Thank you, too.
what were the players' reactions, and how are they handling things emotionally with spring practice canceled and kind of not knowing when they'll be on the field?
Yeah, they're like much of the country. You know, it's an inconvenience, but you know, we just got to keep things in perspective. You know, that's kind of my message to players when I talk to them individually about certain issues and about certain things. You know, I kind of chuckle, but I mentioned to a few of them. I said, "You have any idea how big the world is?" They think about it for a minute. I'm like, well, there's very few people in the world that are not affected right now. So keep that in perspective and, you know, control the things you could control and focus on all the things I've been talking about this whole press conference about keeping those things in order. And so most of our guys are mature, and if you have a brief conversation with them, they understand that, but they are kids. You just got to make sure they continue to stay disciplined and listen to the rules and the regulations that we have out there right now. We're all in the same boat, you know, and everybody's inconvenienced, but we're also blessed, and you got to just think about and pray and try to help the people that are in a less fortunate situation than you are right now. And that's a big thing. So as I said, even, you know, personally and as a family, you try to, you know, control the great big family that I have directly in our building, but also really try to help this community and the people that are in need as best we can. And we try to do that and encourage all of our players to do that.
Okay, next question, John Hale.
Mark, have you heard more from NFL teams since Pro Days got canceled just about your guys, and specifically for Lynn, since he didn't get to run at the Combine and he was kind of pointing towards that? What's kind of your advice to him in this process?
Yeah, I talked to Lynn yesterday, I believe it was, and just checked on him and making sure he was staying focused and doing the work necessary, making sure he had the ability to work out somewhere, and he sounded good and was doing a good job. And I have heard from quite a few teams, and you know, they like our players, and I think you know, the good thing is guys like Logan, he did an awful lot. You know, he was able to, the Senior Bowl was big for him and the Combine, but Lynn, you know, I don't think it'll hurt him at all. I have heard from quite a few teams, and the one common theme is the film doesn't lie. The kid is an incredible football player, an incredible competitor, and you know what? I don't know. I've never worked in the NFL. They got to do what they got to do, but maybe it'll be good for them to quit worrying about all the other things and just look at the film and see who the best football players are, because he's certainly one of them.
Okay, got time for about three more. Nick Roush, go ahead.
We haven't talked to you since Frank Buffano received his promotion.
Mm-hmm.
What, you all go all the way back to high school. What was your all's relationship like back then, and how has his role changed from director of ops to assistant coach?
Yeah, our relationship really didn't go back to high school. I really didn't know Frank in high school. We did go to the same school. He was behind me. Didn't know each other very well, so I really didn't know Frank until much later in life, and got to know him there. So it really wasn't from. Of course, I know his roots and his background in school and everything else, but we weren't friends back then. Connected much later, but really happy for him. Proud of Frank. I tell you, as I mentioned in my release, to say, you know, you hear that all the time. Here's my deal with us in hiring. I'm going to hire people that can help us win football games and that can benefit our program. I've been giving great resources and really take pride in hiring the right people and have made difficult decisions many times. But for this hire, it was very gratifying for me because there's a guy that came to me. Oh, what did I say? What was the year when he went to Arizona? I mentioned
2004, I believe.
2004, but he comes in 2004, wants to get in coaching. You know how many people tell me that? I mean, what, 100? You know, 100 a year minimum that approach me, that are in outside business or doing something else and say they want to coach. And I'm like, okay, everybody wants a coach. Everybody wants a full-time role. But, it comes with great sacrifice. And there's a guy that came in 2004, needed to finish his undergraduate degree, I gave him the opportunity to come to Arizona and to work for his undergraduate degree. He worked in the equipment room. And, as I remember calling him or talking to him, Thursday night, or, have the opportunity to that's our night to get off early and go home, and family night, and calling him and say, hey, come on over for dinner or whatever. And can't, got to work in the weight room or in the equipment room. And there's a guy that was much older that had to work with 18, 19, 20-year-olds. And I'm not even sure how old he was at the time. But much older, and worked in the equipment room and worked hard and did that for years, got his undergraduate degree, stayed with me as a graduate assistant, worked as a GA for several years. Then went our separate ways. I went to Florida State. He went to Youngstown State and worked coaching the secondary for a year or two, coaching the linebackers for a while. Anyway, when I got this job, I knew he'd be a fantastic ops guy. I know he wanted to coach, but did a fantastic job in operations. But constantly, any minute he had, was always watching film, in there with the defense staff, just learning and paying attention. And so, long story short, put in an enormous amount of work and an enormous amount of time to get this opportunity. So, proud of him. I know the work ethic that he has, that's for sure. And, he'll work extremely hard. He'll do a great job. He understands very clearly what I want and what I expect out of coaching the secondary. He'll work with Coach Klink closely. I have great confidence in Coach Klink in being able to handle the entire secondary. But it's also important because it's a big job to have two. So Frank will coach the safeties and work closely with Coach Klink and work with me. He knows what I expect from those guys going all the way back to 2004. And I know he'll also help. He's been able to be active the past couple of years and has done a great job behind the scenes in recruiting in Ohio, because we had the opportunity to activate him quite a bit with what Coach Schlarman is going through. So they gave us the ability to substitute in certain recruiting times. And so Frank has done a great job and knows quite a few people in Ohio. And so he'll assist with Coach Morrow. And we need another guy in Ohio. You know how hard it is. We all know Coach Morrow does a fantastic job. But Frank is also very well connected and has helped us, past couple years in Ohio and doing some things behind the scenes and laying the foundation in recruiting. So it'll be a great asset to us, and very proud to add Frank to the program in a different capacity, because he's worked very closely with me in operations, obviously, since day one.
Okay, a couple more. Derek Terry, go ahead.
Mark, typically this would have been a big evaluation period in recruiting for your coaches out on the road. I've seen some speculation that because they're not able to go out right now, that maybe that early signing period won't happen this year, and that they'll just go back to one signing period. I was wondering if you had any opinion on if that would be a good thing or not.
Again, I have no idea. That's all speculation. I don't know where you heard that. I've never heard that. I'd be surprised if that changes. I would definitely anticipate some changes moving forward. But changing the early signing period, I haven't heard that, and I would be surprised.
Okay, Josh Moore, go ahead.
Mark, my impression was season ticket sales were doing pretty well before for this, and I'm sure this had some kind of effect. If you were a fan, how would you and your family kind of evaluate that decision, given the uncertainty that's kind of surrounding everything, 4 months out from the season?
It's very hard for me to speak for other people. Myself personally, I would just take it one day at a time, like, everybody in this country and the majority of the world has to do right now, is take it one day at a time and see where things are at. So I would hate to speak for other people. But I would like to say thank you. It was very important. It was very nice to see the support and the people, continuing to increase on the season ticket sales. We need that. I mentioned it at my, I think it was a pre-spring press conference, how important that was to me and to our players and to our program. And again, we need that support. It makes a difference. When you walk into that stadium and you see it full, it affects recruiting, it affects our players, it affects everything. And we need it. And I continue to challenge people and encourage people to support it. Obviously, safety comes first, and financially, I completely understand that, because things have changed from the last time I talked to you and the last time I asked for that support. Things have changed to a lot of people, and financially things have changed, and we certainly understand that and want what's best for each people. There's great support in this community. There's great support in the Big Blue Nation. That's not going to change. The people that can come to the games and that can't afford it and can make it happen, we can't wait to see them there.
All right, and last question will be from Tristan Farris. Tristan, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. With everybody staying inside, not able to do much, what's keeping you entertained and busy at this point?
Yeah, it's a difficult time, but again, tell me one person that's not inconvenienced by this. It is what it is. It gives you a great opportunity to spend quality family time. I think that's very, very important, and to continue to first and foremost support that. But then it's doing the things necessary that you can with the program, whether it be staying on top of staff and encouraging staff to do their part with our position group and with our team. It's also important to help the community as best you can, and to reach out and help people the best you can. But I'm like most of us, going a bit stir crazy. It's difficult. It's a difficult time for a lot of people, and doing the best I can.
Okay, Coach, thank you very much. Long time today. Appreciate your patience and your help. And to our media folks with us, thank you for your patience. And we will be back to you at another time.
Thank you. I just also want to say thank you and appreciate the media folks. And please stay safe. And, just prayers are with you and your families. And we'll all get through this as best we can. And so thank you. And we'll touch base again here sometime in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.